And now, the LSU Football Fix with Preston Guy, presented by TigerBait, starts now.
And welcome in. I'm Preston Guy, your host of the LSU Football Fix every Monday night on the TigerBait YouTube channel. Joined with me tonight is a very special guest because Nagy has some flight complications, was unable to make it. We decided to roll with our regular time on Labor Day, and we're here with you. So joined with me, instead of Zach Nagy, we've got Taylor Sharp of 104.5 ESPN, a guy I've been very impressed with his organization and knowledge, and I thought he'd be good to talk with y'all tonight. Taylor, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. You would not be impressed with the organization tonight. This was a little last minute. I got no notes in front of me or anything, so we're gonna make this happen though. We're good to go.
So, and look, little backstory. It's going to be a little bit of a disjointed show, but that's okay because there's so much to talk to. You don't really need organization. So Taylor, of course, I'm bringing in to kind of do some good color commentary and provide some different insight. In fact, even talking pregame here in the studio, he was actually putting out some really interesting things here. So that's what we're going to get to tonight. Of course, we'll give you a quick little rundown here. First thing, I've done my game film study. We're going to discuss what the heck happened. Because Taylor, what were you telling me before? It's a wild stat line if you think about it. If you had told me all these facts, read them all.
So we were talking, kind of setting this whole thing up. And I was like, my two biggest fears going into this game was the secondary is going to collapse. It's going to be just like it was last year. Or Garrett Nussmeier is going to get trigger happy and throw a lot of interceptions. Neither of those things happened. 76% completion percentage, 300 yards passing, basically no turnovers, and you hold them to under 30. If you would have told me all these things at the beginning of the game, I would have said LSU wins this game by at least 2 touchdowns. Like, it's not even going to be close. You're going to run them off the field. And just the reverse happened. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like you made plays until you needed to make plays, if that makes sense. You get into the red zone 3 different times, you come away with a total of 6 points.
Yeah.
That's losing football games. And it's one of those things where it's like, did LSU lose the game or USC just went out there and won it? They made the plays you had to make down the stretch. You saw Miller Moss delivering the ball down the field. It's something that LSU struggled with in the second half. They were able to run the ball better than you in the fourth quarter, which is what helped them get that last drive and get that last touchdown. It was just a really odd game.
It's so odd. And you watch the film and there's so much you like about LSU. Like you said, 300 yards passing with no turnovers. I don't really count the desperation.
The game was over at that point.
Come on. Let's be real here. No turnovers, 300 yards. Nussmeier was surgical. And then you even look at the rushing yards on paper, not the actual film study, but you have 26 carries for 117. Again, no turnovers, and defense did its thing, held them under 30. Man, if you tell me all that as a guaranteed factor going into this game, I'm taking LSU, and LSU covers comfortably in this game. But somehow LSU walks away with the loss. And yeah, like basically you hit the nail on the head. Basically, the coin flip plays, it's up in the air, someone's there. There's a loose ball to grab. Who's going to get it? You both got a 50-50 shot. USC came up with every single one of those. Every single one of them.
Yeah, you force 2 fumbles, like you mentioned. They get both of them back. You stop them on 4th down, and then you're like, are they going to call this an interception and a fumble? I mean, I was looking. I was like, they're about to call this an interception on Whit Weeks, a fumble, and USC recovers it 1st and 10 again. Luckily, they did not. That was another 50-50 call that kind of went in your direction. You get 7.5 tackles for a loss. You get 2 sacks, both by Savion Jones, who we'll get to in a minute. And USC just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. You would push them back. They would counter punch. It was like a boxing match, right? Punch, counter punch. And their counter punches landed every single time. And that's why they walked away with the win.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll go more in depth into that. But the 2 fumbles, but by the way, 2 dropped interceptions too. By the way, not from batted balls on. So basically, 4 turnovers you didn't capitalize on, and it's like a lot of these things. If they go LSU's favor, all of a sudden we're talking about a different game. But we're gonna go break all that down. After that, we have to move on past this game. What is Brian Kelly's status? What's his buyout situation? Is he on the hot seat? Is he not? There's a lot of people calling to fire him right now. We're going to tell you that situation. And then we got to touch upon LSU's future in this season. What's left? Has LSU shown you the signs that they do have a run in them? Sometimes you take a loss, but you see in that loss, like, okay, this team is not ready to compete for a championship, not in the least bit. We're going to discuss all those things tonight, and it's going to be comment heavy. This is one of those days. It is your day to vent. So I want to give that to you, the people, and we'll talk. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people looking to vent. So if you really want to get your vents out, give me a super chat. We'll get you on the screen. We'll talk about that. Guys, make sure to hit like the show tonight if you appreciate all that we do here. Of course, as Rob Boudreaux points out here, hit like, beat Mike. That is our slogan of the year, Taylor. Mike Scarborough makes fun of me because his show gets more likes than mine every single week. I try to keep up. The dude's got a powerhouse of a show.
Well, you're younger than him though, so you got that going in your favor.
I know. Look, I'm just happy with what I've got going and my people I have following me, because 10 years ago I had nobody following me. I had nobody paying attention, and there's a lot of guys who go for 10 years and never get anybody, and so I'm just happy with what I'm at. But yeah, Mike's got a powerhouse, man. And he's the owner of the site and all. I get it. Him and Mike and Buddy have over 50 years experience covering LSU. So it's like, but I'd like to get a W. Just give me 1 week. So make sure to smash that like button. Here's what we'll do. We'll gaslight it. If you hate USC, hit that like button. If you want Brian Kelly fired, hit that like button. If you want Brian Kelly to stay, hit that like button. All that applies. Anyways, let's get to some comments here before we dive on into what the heck went wrong. I got a long comment from Kelly Watley here, actually before the show started, so she must have wanted to get it out. I hope this is a she. Kelly's one of those names that can flip both ways. Good evening, Preston. I saw some bright spots on both sides of the ball, but I've got a problem with those shotgun handoffs. Too slow to develop. What do you guys think? Love the show. Did you notice a lot of those shotgun running plays? I did.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just an LSU thing. Look, the shotgun is here in college football almost exclusively now. Everyone's going to run out of the shotgun. It's really the zone plays. Those outside zones is what she's referring to that take so long to develop. And they did. And it's not what play you call, it's when you run it more, right? Like if you're running it on 3rd and 2 and you have this long developing play, which we saw a few times last night, that's where everyone's frustrations going in. You have a 1st and 10, you run that play, I'm good with it. Pick up 3 or 4 yards, you live to fight another down. It's the slow developing plays on 3rd down that I had the issue with.
All right. So, and I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to one of my notes I had for tonight, where I really was looking at the crucial plays LSU whiffed on offense and defense, by the way. On offense, for the most part, it was actually offensive line blocking in those situations that LSU missed on. And on that first touchdown drive, LSU was excellent pass blocking for the entire night, except for the one play, 4th and 3 on the 3-yard line to get what ended up being the game-defining touchdown. And DJ Chester lets a blitzer go up the A-gap and just go after Nussmeier unimpeded. You can't have that. That's such a big mental error. Mostly that was the error. Pass blocking, run blocking, I should say. It wasn't so much missed blocks, because a lot of times when your running game is struggling, it's like a missed block situation. Like you just hit the wrong guy. It was like USC took on those blockers and it was a stalemate most of the time. It was like they were there. And of course, in a stalemate situation, I mean, you hold the line of scrimmage. And then third issue was really, man, I was not impressed with the running back vision. And that is every running back's vision. I sent out a screenshot of one play where Josh Williams actually has the ball 1 yard past the line of scrimmage, right? And he's bouncing off an offensive lineman, but there's no defender within 4 or 5 yards. You should be able to lower a shoulder, run into the defender, bulldoze ahead for 3 to 5 yards, something like that. Somehow, somehow he goes down exactly where he's at. That, like, he bounces out, runs a little to the side, and gets a 1.5-yard gain on the play. And it's like, you need to get it. Let's dive into these notes, shall we? Long story short, LSU couldn't get 3 yards when they needed it. You know what I mean? Like, you know how important being able to just push through and get those 3 yards are? That is such a killer. Check this out. You had 3 drives that ended in 4th and 3 or less. You know how frustrating that is? You're punting the ball, and it's like you see that yellow line. It's right there. You have 4th and 3, 4th and 1, 4th and 3. And most of those were set up by the play before was 3rd and 3, something like that. In fact, I'm looking at it. 3 of those 4 drives were set up by a play where it's like you have the ball within 4 yards of a first down on 3rd down, and you can't get those 4 yards. And in fact, on your first drive, you had 2 opportunities because you had 3rd and 3, 3rd down on the 3-yard line at the goal line, and you get 0 points. Oh man. So yeah, that's why you have 4 punts on 4th and 3 or less. Brutal job there. You had 4 trips to the red zone. And you had 17 points on those 4 trips, which doesn't sound too bad. It doesn't sound all that bad till you understand that the 2 touchdowns were like outside of 15 yards. They were kind of long passes.
Yeah.
So,
well, man. We talked about it a second ago. You got inside the 15 3 times, 6 points.
Inside the 16 3 times,
the 15,
and 3 points,
3 times 6 points.
15 3 times, and you got 6 points. Okay, but that's not every time you made it with it.
No. Yeah.
Okay, but there were 3 trips.
Yes,
in 15, and you got a total of 6 points on those 3 drives. Oh boy, that's not winning football. That is, that's going to kill you every time. You got 2 points per drive inside the 15, not even the red zone, inside the 15.
Yep.
And you didn't even average a field goal. I mean, that's going to kill you against good opponents. That's going to kill you every single time, man. So I attribute a lot of that to you got to be able to punch through and get 3 yards when you need them. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't rely on that. Not all night long could you rely on getting the 3 needed yards.
Well, you were talking about the vision a minute ago, especially with Josh Williams. We've seen it from Josh Williams in the past. I mean, that's why he's in the game, right? He has that vision. He's not going to be the biggest guy on the field ever. He's not going to have the breakaway speed. We've seen him be good at breaking tackles. We've seen him good at that vision. I didn't see that last night. And honestly, I was disappointed with Caleb Jackson. I mean, 6 carries for 18 yards is what Caleb Jackson came away with, 3 yards per carry. That is not going to get it done. I mean, if you didn't have John Emery in this game, and me and you have been out there at practice, we didn't think John Emery was going to get that much playing time. I mean, he kind of looked stiff at practice. He had the big brace on his leg, but without John Emery, you virtually have no running game whatsoever. That was probably the surprise of the night. And not just the running backs, though. Your offensive line struggled to get a push as well most of the night running the ball. They were great in pass protection, but, I mean, you heard it all last week. Will Campbell's like, hey, look, we're running the ball. We're going to pride ourselves on this. And USC they stiffened up, and they were like, you're not going to run the ball on us. And like you mentioned, the stats look better than it actually was. I mean, 26 carries for 116 yards. You average 4.5 per carry, but it did not feel like that on the field because, like we talked about earlier, you executed until you need to. You ran well on first down. It was the 3rd and shorts that you could not pick up the necessary yardage.
Right, absolutely. And I think, honestly, if you had been able to get those yardage consistently, I think 100%. I think LSU walks away winning. Now, there's also issues on the other side of the ball we have to discuss because, I mean, yes, LSU held them to 27, which is phenomenal. Like, that's such an improvement from last year. I cannot stress enough how much better this defense is than last year's defense. This defense with last year's offense, if this defense took the field a year ago, guys, we're talking about a pretty special season, a playoff season, in my opinion. But obviously, as the season goes on, we'll get more definition to that. I want to touch on the running back rotation. especially watching the film breakdown. And, I wasn't super nuts over what I saw over John Emery. Again, he had one good run, and it was the one run where the offensive line really did. It was a counter tray. Guys pulled, and they just busted a good seam, and he was just the right place, right time. And I feel like they went with him a little too much hot hand. Caleb Jackson got 6 carries for 18 yards, right? And it was all early in the game. They completely turned away from him, and a lot of times a big bulldozing back like that, I feel like in the second half as they get gassed, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the guy to go to, but they didn't go back to him. They went all John Emery basically, and a little bit of Josh Williams. If you take 39 yards, that one carry away, take his longest carry away from him, I mean, we're talking about 9 carries for 22 yards.
Yeah.
Nothing special whatsoever. So I'm not so certain that he was tremendously better than all the other backs, or really was it just one big run that kind of compensated for all of that? But I wasn't super excited. I know that it's not the fun thing to say right now, but I'm not fully convinced that John Emery is the guy moving forward. It's one of those situations where I hope for him as a person he proves me wrong. I'm just telling you based on what I saw in fall camp and what I actually saw in the game and taking a critical look at it. I'm not 100% on there. I had some good comments, actually. I want to scroll back up and get those.
Going back to John Emery while you're doing that, I agree with you, because it's one of those things. It's like, did John Emery look that good, or were the other two backs just that bad? And like the only sign of life you had was John Emery. Going back to the fall camp thing, I agree with you. Honestly, a lot of times he was running 4th behind Caden Durham, who I really was upset that we did not see. I wanted to see him get at least a couple carries. He looked really good in fall camp at times. But, it was one of those things where, they went to him so much in the second half because I felt like they were so desperate to get a running game. It was almost one of those things. It's like, we're going to force a running game when it's not there at all.
I think they went too heavy into it.
Yeah, well, it was Nussmeier. He throws a 8-yard route on 2nd and 10. It's 3rd and 2. You're like, okay, he's rolling. He's got 2 or 3 straight completions. You take the ball out of his hand multiple times on 3rd down instead of letting him deliver those short passes, which he was really good on.
Oh, he was dicing, man.
Force the issue on the ground, and it came back to bite you.
And I think in the second half, they really tried to force that running game. They got that one sign of optimism from John Emery, and they thought, okay, we're cooking now. We got this. And I think that, man, I feel like they should have, I think they should have ran the ball just enough to keep them honest. And they should have, Nussmeier was wheeling and dealing. They should have kept wheeling and dealing with Nussmeier. I'm pretty sure he had like 200 in the first half and only 100.
Yeah, he had 191.
191. Okay. Yeah. So that means he had 113 in the second half. Yep. Yeah. That's not a way to close out a game. It's just not.
It's one of those things, Preston, where they were like, hey, our quarterback's doing really well. Let's take the ball out of his hand. I get it. It's his first season opening start, but this is a guy that's been in the program for 4 years. You have to trust him. It was almost like they were scared he was going to make a mistake after he got hot. At the beginning of the game, they let him turn it loose, and you're like, okay, this is going to be a wide open offense. And they're like, he's playing well. We're waiting for that mistake. We're going to take the ball out of his hands before that mistake happens. And they were playing not to lose. And then on the other side of things, it was a lot more aggressive play calling. You saw them let Miller Moss throw the ball down the field, and he picked apart LSU's defense on that last drive. That was something you did not see from the LSU play calling all night.
I'm going to get 2 comments here real quickly. They're back-to-back. Bro, don't even get me started on Sage Ryan. And then James Wade actually started that with PJ Woodland needs to be starting next week over Sage Ryan. And James, I tend to agree. I liked what I saw out of PJ Woodland. Sage Ryan, of course, got beat on the touchdown just over the top. I don't think he quite has the length a lot of times to play that position. I think he's a serviceable player in this defense. He just looks exactly the way he looked last year. Last year, he was the best defensive back on the team toward the end of the year, but that's because the defensive backfield was atrocious. And this year, he's playing about the same, which is like, can give you some good reps, can do some good things, but I don't know that he's necessarily should be a starter. PJ Woodland, I thought looked good. Not perfect by any stretch.
He looked like a freshman. He looked like a freshman,
but a long, talented freshman who can make some plays. I think that opens up another conversation. He got called for the PI. Do you remember the PI he got called on?
Yeah, I do. I do remember.
I actually watched that film and I'm breaking it down, and maybe
I
this
thought
is
it was a
just.
judgment call. I thought it was a
I
judgment
think
call.
it was a judgment call. I'm trying to cook my own bias out of this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But I really felt like it was a ball that was up in the air, and the receiver went into PJ Woodland, and PJ Woodland could have just backed down and not, or he could have played for the ball. And I feel like it was more honestly playing for the ball. I feel like that should have stayed in his back pocket. I will say this, in watching film today, I saw a bit more questionable calls than I really imagined. Of course, everybody talks about the shifting and God, what was that delay of game on the defense call?
The disconcerting signal. So from what I understand this rule to be, again, they change rules every single year. They add to it. You can't clap, right? You can't clap and simulate a snap count. But honestly, I didn't see anybody do that. Now, obviously, we couldn't hear what they were saying verbally. They may have been trying to do it, but like the defense is allowed to shift. And you actually saw it later in the game. All 4 defensive linemen shifted over to the right, and the refs did not throw the flag. They threw that earlier in the game. So it was a little bit of like inconsistency there. They called LSU for it early in the game. They did the exact same thing later in the game, and they kept the flag in their back pocket.
Yeah, and I thought that was a little whatever. Okay, the holding that they never called. So remember what was his name, Hudson, the guy who made the incredible.
Hudson.
That was an incredible catch, by the way, and that was another theme I'll get onto after I touch on this. Is but there was a blatant missed holding call on Deshaun Womack where he's got his arm up in the air, and I'm talking about the defenders got him wrapped around the neck, chokehold, and especially on that right side of the line. I saw a bunch of that all night. I know I'm fully aware what complaining about missed holding calls is, guys. I'm fully aware that holding is on every play, but a lot of these I'm like, dog, really? What are we doing? What are we doing here, man? But there was a lot more of that complaints about the officiating than I probably typically would have. I'm not blaming this loss on the refs. I'm blaming it on LSU's inability to capitalize when they need to. But of course, that holding call that I'm highlighting, and by the way, I posted a video of it on Twitter where I zoomed in on him and then showed the catch later that Hudson made. The catch was incredible, and that was another consistent theme I saw tonight where USC just made excellent plays offensively. One of the patterns, I don't know about you, Taylor, but I've kind of had a pattern with this game 1 for the last 5 years where I'm like, was LSU bad?
Yeah.
Were they good?
Yeah.
And I've been burnt on that before. Like, do you remember Mississippi State in 2020?
I do. It was like D-Day for a lot of people around here. Everyone remembers exactly where they were.
It was D-Day, but everybody was still drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So I look at that one and I'm like, I thought Mississippi State was good. Nope. Nope, they weren't.
KJ Costello was everybody was like, oh, KJ Costello is going to win the Heisman Trophy. He's in this Mike Leach system. He's going to throw the ball around. He got benched the very next week. He started that game, but he got pulled out, and then that was kind of the Will Rogers era starting after that.
I actually went on a podcast like preseason. They asked me who my sleeper pick for SEC Player of the Year, and I was like, KJ Costello. Are you kidding me? Look what he was doing at Stanford. He's a 5th-year senior. He's going to be starting for Mississippi State. That looked really good for 1 week.
Oh yeah, for 1 week you were the man.
I was sitting on. I posted that clip everywhere. I looked brilliant. I was like, yeah, dude, watch out for Mississippi State. They're winning. What was it? 8 or 9 games this year during the COVID 10 game year. And I think they went like 5-5 or something like that. Ridiculous. So after that, I kind of, guys, my point is that I'm really not trying to pump sunshine here. When I'm watching this film, I'm trying to see, is USC good? And when you make plays like what Hudson made there, or there was another throw to the tight end there was great coverage, 2 defenders on top of him. And he just makes a great play. It's a perfect throw and a great play with good coverage. It's like, man, like that's part of football. Guys are going to make good plays. That's not to say every play was like that. There was obviously plays where, there was a play where, let's see here. What DB got burned? It was, Gilbert got smoked.
We can talk about him more in a minute. I was very disappointed with Jordan Gilbert.
Yeah, I think
he was just we've been out there at fall practice. He was by far your most consistent safety. Really, Jordan Allen was who everybody had questions about in spring practice or fall practice, saying, hey, he might be replaced. Deshaun Spears is coming for that spot. I thought Allen was a lot better than Jordan Gilbert in this game.
Yeah. I thought Jordan Allen made a really good Badger-esque play where he kind of broke up a screen at the line of scrimmage. Anyways, Gilbert got smoked downfield. I can't even remember I didn't write the receiver's name down, but on the sideline, that set up a touchdown for USC. It's like, oh boy, I think it's a matter of when, not if, Deshaun Spears gets a starting spot on this team.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the coach says high on him. He's 6'3", 210 as a true freshman. We've seen him in person. I mean, he looks to be the real deal. Allen, Gilbert, whoever, he's coming for one of those spots.
Yeah, we'll just have to see with that, man. I mean, again, Gilbert was disappointing overall, especially I didn't see much where he made plays. There was another weird play where they had a screen to Zachariah Branch, and it's just, sometimes you play chess as a coach, right?
Yep.
If you call a zone blitz and they call a screen to one of the most electric players in the country, like, it's designed to beat that. And sometimes you lose in chess. But I mean, that's kind of like, at least you got guys like, at least the quarterback has to get on his back foot. Like, he really did have to make a tricky throw. The craziest thing about that for me is seeing that play, Braden Swimson drops back in coverage.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And he covered the left tackle. I'm not kidding. He drops back in zone coverage behind the screen and is running with the left tackle. And meanwhile, they dump it off to Zachariah Branch. He was in perfect position to go bust up that screen. Play recognition is what I'm getting at. I'm just giving you one example of these guys do need to work on some play recognition to be able to make those plays. So, yeah, that's kind of just a wide net of the issues LSU had. Next, we're going to shift gears a little bit here, guys, and we are going to talk about Brian Kelly, the job he did and what his status is. I'm seeing a lot of Brian Kelly on the hot seat talk, a lot of people asking about his buyout. We're going to talk about that, but first we do have to get to a quick ad break here. We're going to talk to our sponsors real quick. We'll be right back in about 90 seconds. So guys, first and foremost, y'all know who the title sponsor of our show is this year and every year that we've had this show. It's Celebrity Theaters, guys. They're Louisiana's only locally owned and operated theater. Because they are locally owned and operated, guys, you're going to be guaranteed to see a clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology, and of course, in their Baton Rouge location, they have an invigorating arcade featuring over 50 games. It's the largest in town. I love taking my little boy to it. He doesn't even know how to play the games. It's just wild to his 2-year-old brain. They've got a beer featuring wine, beer, frozen drinks, and of course, they have what has now become a must for me for any theater is an oversized leather reclining seats in every theater. It's great. And of course, their Dolby Atmos sound system with 3D sound. It's incredible, guys, especially for those big movies. Like I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine the other day. It was incredible. They've got locations in Baton Rouge and Ruston. And don't forget their weekly specials where they've got Monday, Senior Savings Day, where you get $5 for all patrons over the age of 55 all day. Bargain Tuesday, discounted movie tickets and concessions for all. Wednesday's college night, where admission for college students after 5 p.m. is $5. Baton Rouge location has off arcades all day. And Thursday at the Baton Rouge location is Thirsty Thursday. And of course, guys, I'm going to talk about a new sponsor we have this year. I'm very excited to have them. It's Struby's, guys. All TigerBait shows are proudly brought to you this year by Struby's Seafood and Steaks, located on 107 3rd Street in downtown Baton Rouge. Struby's prides itself in providing a 5-star dining experience for a reasonable price. Struby's is locally owned with ownership in the building every single day, taking a level of pride in their food and service that you're just not going to see from just any old corporate establishment. Struby's is a full menu of specialty meats, including USDA Prime Angus steaks, 100% certified Wagyu New York strip. And for those looking for something outside red meat, they offer items such as the dry aged pork chop, black truffle lobster pasta, red fish, and plenty more. I went there and had dinner with the owner the other day. I had that dry aged pork chop he got for me. It was outstanding. And I got to say, the Wagyu New York strip was also just out of this world, man. And of course, guys, we got to talk about our friends, Willy Wonka's world for an LSU fan, Alumni Hall, guys. Alumni Halls, guys, I'm telling you, it's the best place to get all of your LSU fan gear. Alumni Hall, shop at their store off of Blue Bonnets in Perkins Row, or shop online at alumnihall.com. They've got it all: new Nike gear, Champion, Johnny O, Onward Reserve, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, more and more. They've got polos you've been looking for, hats, Yeti, and all the LSU new baseball gear is here. Shop with them, and you can earn rewards on future purchase with their Hall Pass Rewards program. Guys, I also have a discount code to share with you. And for all my friends and subscribers, if you shop there, use the code TigerBait to earn 10% off your purchase in-store or online. Go shop with my friends at Alumni Hall and use the code TigerBait to save. And just like that, we're back. It always blows my mind on days like this. We do a quick little ad break like that, and boom, 24 comments. People got a lot to say real quick. Let's see here if we got any interesting comments before we Greg Penn had only 3 tackles and several with the tight end pass. Yeah, he had a quieter game, but he also wasn't on the field every play. Did you notice that?
We was in there for him a lot. And I got to be honest, I was a little surprised. Look, great team leader. He obviously got the number 18. I was surprised when they were so adamant that he was going to get the start next to Harold Perkins, as good as Whit Weeks was a year ago. But, I really did think he had a little bit of a quieter game. I hate to say it, but, out of your 4 interior linebacker between him, the Weeks Bros, and Harold Perkins, I thought that Greg Penn was probably the worst of the 4 last night.
Yeah. I thought the linebackers played the best unit. I really did. And a lot of people talk about Harold Perkins having a quiet game. It was like he was cleaning up. He was playing linebacker.
He led you in tackles last night.
He was your leading tackler. He was doing fine, and they were rotating. He's just not this pass rushing specialist getting 5 sacks every game like people want to. And I think he's doing just fine. I think your linebackers played a pretty strong game overall. What about the super hat? Dane, we already talked. Okay, here we go. This is starting to seem like LSU football before Saban. Other than the 2019 season and the 2022 Alabama game, what big games has LSU won since the 2011 season? Okay. All right, that's a good question. Okay. So we're going back to the DiNardo era. All right, first off, shout out Jerry DiNardo. He did beat Florida in 96. Okay. I want to throw that out there. All right. Let's think here. 2022 Alabama is the big one, obviously.
I can actually think of a couple in 2018 that was really the building block for 2019. When you hosted Georgia in Tiger Stadium and you rolled over them.
Yeah, you beat
them by 20 points in Tiger Stadium. Auburn that year too. Everybody remembers that was a Cole Tracy game. The last second 48-yard field goal. That was kind of Joe Burrow's coming out party. He was really bad in the first half of that game. And then in the second half, it flipped, right? Stidham was really good in the first half. He was awful in the second half. And then Burrow took over that game. Cole Tracy, that was kind of his big coming out party as well. Those 2 games are kind of like the ones that stayed out to me the most. And that's kind of the building block for the next season as well.
Yeah, and I'll throw Missouri this last year in there. Even though they weren't highly ranked at the time, Missouri won the Sugar Bowl. Missouri was a good football team. So it happens.
That was at Missouri. That was a big on-the-road game. And you were in a 13-0 hole in that game that a lot of people forget.
I'll say this. The thought occurred to me last night that it seems like the magic LSU used to have in these really tight early season games where you're on the edge of your seat. I think about 05 Arizona State and Jamarcus Russell just with his crazy late game heroics. It seems like a lot of that isn't happening. And really since that 2011 season, that's kind of the window where it just really feels like the magic in these close games has mostly gone away. I've become a lot more pessimistic in this half of my time watching LSU, this half of my life cycle, I should say.
I was thinking about that exact same thing earlier today. A lot of people aren't going to want to hear this because he left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth and he got stale. Les Miles was really good at out-of-conference games. He was phenomenal at out-of-conference games. The only season opener he ever lost was Wisconsin when he only lasted 4 games that season. I mean, he was excellent in out-of-conference games, and he had his teams ready to play in week 1. Say what you want about him. Yes, the offense was stagnant and all that. He couldn't beat Nick Saban consistently. He had his teams ready to play in the openers.
And Dane, thank you for the super chat. I apologize. I missed your second one. You had 2. So it kept on just showing me there was the one. I missed your second one. Dane, I appreciate your support more than you understand, man. I really appreciate that. Nurse Court throwing some shade here in the chat. How old was Preston in 1996? Let's see. That would have been October of 1996. Preston was not my birthday's in November. So I would have been 4 years old watching at my grandpa's house.
I would have been 1 month old. I was born in September of 96. So
my favorite part about being, I got in this media scene relatively young. I mean, obviously there's guys who get in it when they're like 22, right? I kind of popped onto the scene when I was like 24 or something like that. Is just slowly watching the transition from everybody dogging on me for being the young guy to like, he's got it worse. Like,
yeah,
sure. This guy was literally a month old for that game. I at least remember being at my grandpa's house for that game. I mean, come on. Oh, man. But yeah, that was actually a very common thing back in the day. Is we just all go to grandpa's to watch the game. I guess my dad didn't want to buy cable or whatever. But, let's see here. Here's a funny comment. I love Napier trash talking. Napier will be available soon. Hey, maybe maybe you pay for.
Will be available soon.
Very soon. Very soon. I
don't know if LSU faces Billy Napier this year.
I don't know if they do either because here's the deal. I think most people expected him to get fired maybe circumstantially because he plays probably the toughest schedule I've ever seen.
Yeah, whoever made that schedule does not like Billy Napier.
Well, first off, they add Florida State and Miami to a brutal SEC schedule, but a lot of the SEC scheduling is now rolling the die. It's seriously a system of, well, you've got 3 permanent and you've got 5. You're rolling the die on 5 teams now. There's a lot more rotation. And while over long term, that's going to be a much more equitable and fair system than one rotating opponent, you can roll bad. You can roll a real bad schedule like that. And that's what Napier rolled. But Florida looked worse than expected against Miami.
Pick Miami, pick Florida, whatever. I really thought this was going to come down to the 4th quarter. I thought this was going to be a close game one way or the other. Now, Miami looked a lot better than I thought they would. I underestimated Cam Ward. I was like, yeah, you brought in Cam Ward. He was fine at Washington State, whatever. Is that really going to put you over the top? He looked like a stud, but Florida was awful. You had the 71-yard run by Montrell Johnson. Outside of that, you had virtually nothing offensively the entire game.
Oh, man. I missed my sneeze button there. Anyways, I think Florida showed no pulse. So it could be worse, LSU fans. You could be in Florida's situation. All right.
I'm looking at Florida's schedule right now. I mean, you're going to beat Samford next week. You have Texas A&M. You're not winning that game. You might beat Mississippi State, but it's in Starkville. UCF has 2,000-yard rushers and KJ Jefferson as their quarterback. That's going to be a lot tougher game than people think it is. You're going to Tennessee. That's a loss. I think Kentucky beats you. You're losing to Georgia. You're losing to Texas. You're probably losing to LSU. I mean, I'm looking for wins, and I really don't see more than about 3 or 4 on the schedule.
All right. If Florida were to fire Billy Napier today, that's a $28.3 million buyout. Okay.
People have done it for more.
I did look, and I don't want to put this out there as anything official. Okay. A lot of people have been asking about Brian Kelly's situation. Here's what I know about his contract. It's a $90 million contract. It is 90% guaranteed unless he wins a national championship, which I think is the funniest clause I've ever heard in a coaching contract is guaranteed unless you win a national championship. And he is coaching, just breaking that out. I don't know exactly how the payment structure works and all that good stuff. I don't have a copy of the contract, but mathing it out, assuming he gets his $9 million every year and December 31st, 90% of what would be remaining is 57.6 million. Hey, chat, let me know if we're still, I think I lost Taylor there. So y'all let me know if we're still rocking and rolling here. Gosh, we've been having a lot of issues on this stream. Someone give me like a thumbs up or something in the chat. I lost Taylor for some reason. Anyways, 57.6 million. If by January 1st is what I'm roughly calculating. Okay. First off, financially, LSU's a little locked in. I talked to people about this. When they hired him, it's like basically you're banking on here, I'm gonna tell him to rejoin here. I'm sorry, guys. Tell him looks like you lost connection. You lost connection. Anyways, I told him just to rejoin. I apologize about that, guys. Little issue. There's no one there to tell him what to do. Anyways, financially, LSU's locked in. It's one of those deals when you hire a coach like Brian Kelly and you offer him a 10-year, $90 million contract, you're banking on after 5 years, he's going to be in good standing, right? Because after 5 years, the market has caught up and you're ready to roll. And basically, he's now industry standard. Basically, firing him after 5 years would be just like hiring any Joe Blow coach. Well, we're not at 5 years. We're on third year. And here is my ultimate take. I'm trying to get Taylor on. It looks like he's backstage, but yeah, we got a blank screen. So I'll let his camera turn on. I don't know what's going on with Taylor there. Long story short, guys, if Brian, let's look at the worst case scenario. By the way, someone says 57.6 is correct. I hope that's not just my number. He's kind of verifying that because I did tweet that out. I was like roughly calculating. I'm just using my own math. There are a lot of stipulations and payout structures and all that. Contract. It could be back. Taylor, there you are.
What's up, man?
I don't know what happened there, man, but I'm going to tell you what. My luck with people on this show and hosting has been abysmal. And it's always one of those things where I'm like, oh, crap. Is it me?
Dude,
did I freeze?
Me out, that's fine. I'm not going to get offended.
Well, look, I begged you to come on tonight, so I don't think I'm kicking you out. Anyways, buyout structure is not tenable for LSU to do right now, at least as far as I'm aware. If worst case scenario, Brian goes, say, 3-9, 4-8, like just absolutely every game that's winnable, they don't win. Guess what? They're still giving him another year. They're still going to say, well, he was replacing a Heisman winner, and they're still going to give him one more year to bounce back. That's the situation LSU's in. Okay, I think, Taylor, did you freeze again? Oh, man, I'm just going to pull him off the stream. We'll give him one more try to come back in, but, man, it looks like he's having some internet issues there. And look, a 9-3 season is like, hey, man, you really need to put things in the right direction. We've already got you with the coordinator. Oh, there we go. Can y'all hear me now? Guys, I'm so sorry. I think we tried to add Taylor back. We have 2 Taylors now. Taylor, are you back? No, he's not back. All right. I'm just going to tell Taylor to call it a night. I'm going to tell him. I think his stream is literally coming in and messing me up. It's all good, man. Call it a night. Oh, boy. I thought last night's stream, I don't know if y'all watched the stream with Mike and I last night, but as soon as I got on the stream, his thing froze and he dropped out. And I'm sitting there. I don't know what the heck's going on. I'm like, is it my internet? Is it him? Is it what? So I'm like pulling up the stream on my phone. I'm sitting here breathing into the mic, of course. And everybody says I look like a Harry Potter painting. Guys, these streams are going about as well as LSU's opener. This is dreadful. Brian Kelly's staying at LSU for a while, guys. And I also don't think LSU's necessarily going for a 4-8 season or 3-9. I feel very confident about my 9-3 prediction still. This stream is like our running game. Jim, I'm actually going to send a nasty email to our internet, or not our internet. I think it's our literal provider, man. Billy Napier could get fired next week. Oh man, he really could. He really could. Too soon with the opener jokes. Oh man. Don't you mean 8-4? Didn't expect that loss to stinking Lincoln. No, I think 9-3 is good because let me tell you, I think there's two teams on LSU's schedule that are better than LSU. And of course, I think LSU's got like maybe a 1-3 chance to get a win out of Bama and Ole Miss. But then there was like 4 teams where LSU's in that, like, I favor them to win this game more times than not. But if you play enough of those games where you're in the 50 to 70% chance to win, you're going to drop one. Well, I just feel like there was a bunch of games that could be like that. And I feel like, this was one of those games. Taylor Sharp, I've never been fired mid-show before. All right, Taylor, the only reason I'm sending you home here is because you came back and there was 2 of you and it made my feed go down. So I don't think it's your fault at all. I don't know what the heck's going on here, but we got to talk to the people. They're looking to bemoan a loss. We can't have the stream crash, man. All right. We're going to get to some quick sponsors real quick. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about what we see with the future of LSU, and we're going to go comment heavy. But first, I got to thank Capital City Grill, guys. At TigerBait.com, one thing we try to do with all of our TigerBait sponsors is partner with locally owned businesses we've experienced firsthand and know we can endorse to provide an outstanding experience for all listeners. Okay, for all of our listeners, right? This football season, we're proud to add Capital City Grill to that lineup. Located on 100 Lafayette Street in downtown Baton Rouge, Capital City Grill is your ideal lunch and dinner stop for your casual dining experience. Capital City Grill features a variety of sandwiches, burgers, seafood, pastas, steaks, and almost anything you could want, all priced $30 or below for an affordable experience. In this economy, guys, we take that. Don't forget to celebrate a Tigers win after their Sunday morning brunch, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Book your reservation online tonight at capitalcitygrill.net. Make sure to let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And guys, I absolutely love popping into Capital City Grill for a good sandwich or something like that. It's all good. Burgers are great. They even have a little bit of steak on the menu that they do there. But I'm going to tell you my favorite item is their dream cake. It is a giant ice cream cake that is just fantastic. It is comically large. Definitely recommend that. It gets me out of trouble with my night any night. And guys, let's talk real quick about one of our new sponsors here, Genesis of Lafayette. Got a brand new attitude, like bing bang boom on a pink balloon, like I just do what I want to do, like ooh, ooh, brand new. Of course, thank you to Genesis of Lafayette. Guys, there's a reason they sell more Genesis than any other dealer in Louisiana. For the very best buyer experience of a new luxury SUV or sedan, call them toll-free to set up your test drive, 877-856-2961, and tell them TigerBait sent you in. You know, hilariously, I just got a pop. I think Taylor's trying to rejoin. He did not want to get fired mid-show. I'll give him one more try. I just don't want to cancel out my stream. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, guys, I also have to thank, real quick, where am I at here? I have to thank our title sponsor, Celebrity Theaters. Guys, I'm so disjointed. I don't know if y'all can tell this or not, but it has been a chaotic time. But you know where you can go to escape all the chaos of LSU football and the Labor Day pandemonium? Celebrity Theaters. You can book a public event there for auditoriums. They have 8 to 10 auditoriums, depending on which location, and you can host a private birthday party, a private movie screening. corporate meeting, arcade party, whatever it is, they got the facility to fit your needs. If you want to go check them out, go to celebritytheaters.com/events or give them an email, events@celebritytheaters.com. Oh boy. All right. I want to talk real quick about how just disjointed this last 24 hours has been. Of course, LSU does their game. I had to put out my story. Mike has to post his post game. We're going live till about 1 a.m. I made the probably ill-advised decision to go fishing for Labor Day, which is, of course, like a 5 a.m. outing. And I'm like, you know what? We'll stay up late. We'll make it happen. It works. So 5 a.m. I'm out on 4 hours of sleep. Come home, do some film study. We've got this show. And, of course, to top it all off, I got a fantasy draft right after this show. So it is a crazy day for Preston Guy here. Anyways, guys, let's talk about future of this team. A lot of people are dialing in 8-4 or worse. And I'm just not there. I think this team has a chance to still be adequately good. The thing is USC did make a lot of good plays. USC did look like a pretty good team. I think that's a 9 or 10 win football team over there in the Big Ten. Miller Moss was slinging it. You can't tell me Miller Moss is not a dude. You can't tell me Lincoln Riley's offense is an elite. Most of Lincoln Riley's teams have been 11-win teams. And that defense for USC, especially that front seven, I mean, they looked a lot better. So I think this is a real situation where USC did improve quite a bit. I also think that LSU got the raw end of the deal with the refs quite a bit. I try not to complain too much about that because sometimes that's football and you don't want to leave it to the refs' hands. But looking at the film, it's hard not to ignore a lot of those. But ultimately, I look at a lot of these coin flip plays. Guys, y'all realize LSU had 4 turnovers that they just didn't capitalize on. I mean, they had a triple reverse they fumbled. They had a fumble in the red zone they didn't capitalize. And we're not talking about like a fumble like quarterback fumbles the snap and falls on it. I'm talking about defenders in the area, and LSU dropped 2 interceptions. If you capitalize on any one of those, it's very possible LSU walks away with a win. Nussmeier was slinging and cooking. I think, the biggest problem is you couldn't get 3 yards when you needed it on offense. I think these are all addressable. I don't think this is a team where they don't have the coaching in place. They don't have the players in place. I don't see any of these gaping hole issues. I did see a little bit of the lack of that clutch gene. That if you start hitting on these big plays, I mean, a lot of this is just odds and chances. You know what I mean? Like if you run that play 10 times, you're going to convert 6, 7 out of 10. Who knows? I think eventually the coin's going to flip in LSU's favor a little bit more. I don't think it's time to run BK out of town quite yet. I'm just saying, be patient. Let's listen. 9-3 is probably not where you kicking out on me again. There we go. All right, I'm back. Guys, I'm going to kill my streamer provider. I'm going to kill him. Anyways, with what I'm seeing on the LSU schedule right now, guys, frankly, I'm not so certain that I see a 9-3 LSU playoff bid because there's just not enough there. I mean, maybe if you shuffle things around and say, okay, well, you lost to USC, but you beat Ole Miss and South Carolina. You have 2 USCs on your schedule this year. That was just a trap game, and you got trapped up. I could see that. Get to some comments, and we're going to wrap up the show here in just a bit. Before this, I don't know what the heck's going on with our stream tonight and yesterday, but we'll see. It's not AT&T. I have Cox, but I think Cox has been fine this year. Fight on. Got some USC fans. We had some Notre Dame fans. Hilariously, Notre Dame fans have been like fueling this channel for a while. All right, let's see here. Oh boy, what a weird night. Oh man, I made AT&T I'm mad at AT&T and DirecTV no longer has ESPN. What a crazy situation we're dealing with here, man. Cock sucks, man. Look, Pierce, I cannot tell you enough how much that upsets me. Anyways, this game against USC, I think the coin flipped a lot of ways in their favor. I think if LSU plays this game, I think LSU probably wins it 6 times. I do think they're pretty evenly matched, but I mean, LSU was in control for most of the game. The thing that kills me is your defense, as well as they play, had one opportunity to step up and get a stop, and they got sliced and diced. The thing I didn't like about it is they got very timid on screens. I'm very, very timid on blitzing, I should say, because of the screens. And they really pulled off all that pressure, and they just sliced and diced them downfield. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that you cannot get timid like that and call, the blitzing and pressure was really what was working for your defense all night. And then all of a sudden you just pulled away from it. So I don't know why you go away from what was working all night on the final drive where it matters most, but it is what it is. So tell you how they improve. Well, I think that the ability to get 3 yards in the running game is something that is very manageable to do. You can pull that off. I think that they're going to have to get a little more creative with their offensive calls to kind of manufacture that. They're going to have to do some little bubble screens, that kind of stuff. And I think you're going to have to you saw a little bit of it, but not an incredible much. I think they're going to do some things to manufacture that. I also think they're going to get a little more vertical on offense. And again, I think a lot of it is just odds. Sometimes the ball is not going to fall in your direction. And it is what it is. There's no excuses. You just got to make that play. And sometimes the other guy's going to make that play. And I think that's what happened to LSU. We will definitely see. Guys, I appreciate y'all for watching tonight. Please sure to hit like on this stream, guys. It helps with our analytics, all that good stuff. And I appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. This channel has grown tremendously over the years. I appreciate all your support. I apologize about all the technical issues tonight. Our streaming provider has apparently been emceed by Brian Kellen's opening game plan. We've got the same opening game plan for our live streams this year, but I appreciate all y'all. I'm going to call it a night. Mike will be back with Buddy Wednesday night, so y'all make sure to tune into that. And of course, we'll do our post-game show after Nicholls State and the home opener next week. I appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great night. I appreciate y'all.